Let's close it. Hello, I see we have some people on already. Welcome to the Ask Me Anything. We have another minute till we're scheduled to start, so let's wait for folks to come, and then we'll get going. Let me just pull up the questions here. All right. First of all, I just have to share with everybody, I literally just got off a red-eye flight. So I'm a little punchy this morning, but hope you guys will put up with all that. So let's go ahead and get started. It's 9 o'clock. This is my Ask Me Anything. I do it once a month, and the purpose for doing this is trying to frankly just share a lot of the lessons I've learned, perspectives, etc., if they can be helpful out to those of you that are indeed building and growing your careers. I am very much passionate about helping others achieve their aspirations. That's why I wrote the book, Unapologetically Ambitious. And that's why I do these Ask Me Anythings and try to find ways to basically share at scale, because it's challenging in terms of doing it one-on-one. So with that, let's dive in. So first question, how does a person strengthen their strategic skills when they are currently not in a role that supports strategy? Listen, this is a great question. It's kind of the chicken and the egg, right? But what I'll tell you is for many roles, you need to demonstrate that you have the potential or that you have some base capability before you actually get the next role. So my suggestion here is when you're trying to develop strategic skills, it really starts with asking questions, asking strategic questions. So think about it when you're in meetings and in discussions, ask yourself internally first, right? Do I understand the strategy of what we're trying to accomplish here? Then ask yourself, if you don't, okay, so what are some questions you could ask that could clarify this? And use the strategy in your question so that people understand that you're thinking about strategy. And that way they'll start to get the sense and the understanding that this is an area of interest to you and an area of passion. The other thing you can do is, observe and reflect and consider opposite views from what's being discussed. Not just to be contrarian, but to make sure that you're pushing on the strategies that's strong enough, right? Have we thought about all angles? So those are the ways to start building out just some understanding and some capability. And frankly, you can also look at formal training. You can look at books, right? There are things like that out there too to help you think about strategy and being strategic. But many times, the whole strategy perspective is whether or not you're really just thinking about the future of what you're trying to achieve, and that you're thinking about the pieces that have to be aligned and done in order to achieve the strategy. And when you're able to articulate that and lead people through that process, then you're building those strategic skills, and that will be recognized. Next, how does an individual get groomed for board positions? And by the way, I see Sylvia pinged me. Hello, Shellye. Hi, Sylvia. Glad you're on today. So how does a person get groomed for a board position? I don't know that groomed is the right word. Boards are looking for people who can add value, right? Who can support the company's ability, strategy and ability to execute. That can be, an advisor of sorts to the CEO and management team. So it's not so much that you get groomed to be a board member, as it is you need to develop a certain skill set. You need to create a personal brand for yourself so people know about you. You need to understand what being a board member actually is, etc. So there are a number of elements that are required in terms of board roles. The good news is it's pretty easy to figure out and to find out what skills are actually in demand and required. You can search on that because all of these professional search firms for boards, as well as supporting organizations like accounting firms, EY, right, et cetera, they put out a lot of information. They do a lot of research on what boards are looking for. What are the key topics? What are the areas of biggest challenge, right? All kinds of things. So go do the research, look to see what those things are, and then compare it to your skills and your backgrounds and say, do I have the skills that are required? And if you don't, then try to work on ways to actually build those skills or gain those experience or get those roles. Because at the end of the day, a board seat is just like any other job. It's a job. And you interview and you compete, right? And you get selected. So if you're trying to go after a board seat, just like going after a job, it's important first to understand what are the skills, what are the experiences required, and then go get those skills and experiences so that you can best compete, right, when it's time. And the good news is there are also a number of different organizations out there to actually help groom, to help broaden your, if you will, visibility, etc., once you have those skills. Okay, next question. How do you prepare your business to be acquired? Well, it's a good one. So if you're building a business and your plan and your strategy is, okay, I'm not trying to build an independent business, but I actually want this business to ultimately be acquired. The first step is to determine, well, who would the best acquirers be, right? And that's your job. So what companies are out there that would gain benefit from what your company does? Once you have kind of an idea of who potential acquirers are, then figure out, are there ways to create strategic partnerships, either with them as customers or with them as partners, et cetera, so they get to know you. Because unless you're already a very high profile company, right, companies want to know the companies that they're buying. And therefore, it's a very common strategy to actually partner with a company or to become a customer of a company before actually acquiring, because it gives them a chance to get to understand how you work, how you operate, and whether or not you'd actually fit with them. Next, you want to make sure you put your financial house in order, because if you're going to be acquired, the due diligence process is significant. So, are your financials all clean? Do you have multi-years of being able to show audited financials? Are your taxes all aligned? Are your paperwork? All of that needs to be straight and clear and ready for prime time. And then when it's time to actually go after being sold, use experts. They're investment bankers. This is their job to actually sell companies. You can take advice from tax accountants, lawyers even. So go to the professionals to get perspectives on how to value yourself, how to position yourself, all those things they can absolutely help you with. And I guess the last thing I'd share is make sure that all the stakeholders that are involved with your company are actually aligned. Meaning you might have debtors, you might have investors, right? You might have people who sit on your board. Well, if you want to sell or be acquired, it's important that everybody's on the same page with what we're trying to do, how much we're trying to do it for, all those things before you embark down this pathway. Next question. When I asked my manager about potential timeline for my promotion to my next career level, he said, let's talk about it at the end of the year. In your opinion, is that hedging? Yes. Yes, it is. It means he's not ready to talk about it. So good news is it's October. So end of the year, you're only talking 60 days. And here's what I would suggest. If he wasn't ready to talk about it, then either he's not thinking about it yet, right? Or he's trying to figure out how to let you down in an easy way or buy time. I'm not sure what all is going on. But here's my suggestion to you. Take the reins. All right? Take the reins. And what I mean by that is don't wait 60 days from now, go in and say, okay, you said we could talk. Now can we talk? Do your homework. Get yourself ready and prepared. Look at whatever that next career level is that you've been talking to your boss about, right? Make sure you understand what are the skills required for these jobs, who's had these jobs, and what kind of backgrounds did they have, etc. Now compare and contrast what you've done, right, as compared to that. So when you go into the conversation, you can go in actually armed with your case of why you should actually get this promotion versus just listening to what they want to tell you about whether or not you should or should not. Anytime you're trying to take on more responsibility. It's always best if you actually are proactive. And the more facts you have at hand and the more examples that you can share, the better you are. So when you walk into the meeting saying, I think I should be whatever the role is, and here's why, blah, blah, blah. The last few people in the role have done X, Y, and Z, and this is what I've done, right? These are the reviews I've gotten. This is the feedback I've gotten from peers. Just have it all together to make that strong case so that when you're having the conversation, it's clear to your manager that you're serious about this. And so they need to get serious along with you. Okay. Next question. And by the way, feel free in the chat to ask any other questions or things that come up in mind. I'm going through the questions that were sent in advance, but we'll always be glancing at the chat to answer anything coming through there. All right, next. How does a leader manage growth without experiencing continual cycles of burnout? Boy, this is the big question, right? Especially during this whole COVID process. So many people have been suffering from burnout. So first step is remember you're a human being. And I know it sounds like a ridiculous thing to say because of course we're human. But no, we really are human. We're not machines. So that means that we need to make sure that we are actually taking time, whether that's taking time to eat, taking time to get a walk, taking time to play with your kids, taking time, whatever it is, we need to take time to do those things. It is very easy in this always on world where you can always sit at your computer and have yet another email that needs to be answered. Carve out chunks of time that become your time. Because here's what I found. Whenever you have important deadlines or things that are looming in front of you, you always figure out how to get it done, right? You always figure out how to get it done. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt here and carve out time to actually relax, to play, to breathe, whatever it might be. Because when you get back to it, you will figure out how to get it done. It's not expected that you are connected to your computer 24/7. Many times we expect that of ourselves, but that's actually not what's expected. So carve out time. Remember that you're human. And I find scheduling it, literally chunks. Okay, scheduling forces me, right, to break away from the computer, from the iPhone, from whatever it happens to be in terms of its pulling work. So that's one. Two, learn how to delegate. Learn how to delegate. If you're a leader, well, that means there's a team. Whether the team members report to you or they're just part of an extended loose couple team, it doesn't matter. But learn how to delegate to make sure that you're not carrying an unfair share of the work that needs to get done. And then third, if you aren't able to manage those things and you find that you are still spending way too many hours, right, doing what it is that you're doing, ask for help. Because perhaps there's something that's off. Either expectations that aren't understood, or there frankly isn't enough resources, right, available in terms of do what you're trying to do. So don't assume that you just have to suck it all up, right, and keep going. You could always ask for help if you're unable to sort through, right, how to get this done. Next one. How do I show my readiness? How do I show my readiness to move on without appearing arrogant or pushy? Here's a good one. So let me tell you what I've done, right? Instead of walking in to say, okay, I want to be vice president of XYZ, right? What I would do with my managers and with other leaders that I developed relationships with is I would say things like, one day I aspire to be vice president of engineering. Do you think I have the potential? Literally, I asked, do you think I have the potential? And by making the statement in question, what I've actually done is I've told them what I want to do, right? I told them I want to be VP of engineering, but I didn't demand it. I asked them if they thought I had the potential. And the benefit of doing that is you wouldn't have been hired in the company if they didn't think you had potential. So almost every time they're going to say yes, right? Because everybody has potential. Well, that's wonderful. Once they say yes, then you have a chance to ask their perspective. Oh, that's terrific. Do you have any advice for me on, and then fill in the blank, on other experiences I should get, or skills that I should build, or something I should strengthen, right? I mean, you can get a chance to ask them about that. And guess what? They're going to have to give you some perspective because they've told you you had potential. So now they need to follow it up. So that's okay. So that's a way that I have found to state what you want without making people uncomfortable or coming across too pushy. All right, next. How do you explain career change? I transitioned into health tech over 6 months ago. I absolutely love it. The best decision of my life. It took over a year for someone to give me a chance. My startup scaled back in the US, and now I'm facing the same questions in interviews. People struggle to understand why someone in healthcare, as a nurse, would want to transition. Any tips? First of all, don't take it as a negative when people ask the question of, well, why do you want to do this? All right. Many people are frankly afraid of making change. And so when they see somebody that has, it's like, ooh, they want to understand, okay, so what's behind this? Just have your story straight, whatever it was. I was a nurse for X number of years and I enjoyed it while I did it. But frankly, I needed a different challenge and blah, 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 blah. Right? So don't be defensive. Just be very matter of fact, which means practice your answer. Don't go into sessions knowing it's coming and then scramble for an answer because then it feels like you're uncomfortable with your decision. No, practice your answer. And you can do that with friends. Just have them ask you the question, hey, why did you make the transition? And you practice it. Say what you're going to say and then get their feedback. The stronger, the more concise, the more confident that comes across, people will accept it. Next one. I've been with a company for 16 years and have talked about moving up. As much as they seem supportive, there is no definitive answer. I like working here, but I know I'm underpaid and deserve a promotion. I have an offer from a competitor for a 30% increase and the next role. Why is change making me think so much and loyalty holding me back? What would you do? Okay, so first of all, I can't tell you what to do because I've read a 30-word statement question, but I really don't know the full context of everything. But here's what I would suggest to you. Loyalty. What are you loyal to? You're underpaid. You haven't been promoted. It doesn't feel like you're getting a lot of support where you are. So I'm not sure what the loyalty factor is there. You've proven your worth, right? And your ability to be promoted because you actually have that opportunity. So I think you know what you need to do. It's either take your offer. If you want to stay at your company, take your offer and tell them that, hey, this is what I need to stay, or go take the next opportunity. But I do think it's telling that the company has not supported you for a while and that you had to go find another offer in order to actually move up with your career. One of the things that's super important for everyone to always remember, you own your career. You do. Not the company, not your boss, not your mentor. You do. So be in control of your career. Don't get stuck because a company decides that they're not ready or in a position or willing or whatever, right, to support your growth and your development. You need to take charge and make sure that you are always growing, always learning. And if you can't make that happen in your existing company, then I think it's the right thing to do to look at other options. Because remember, you own your career, nobody else. Next question. Let me see if there's anything in. Okay. Nope. I was looking to see if there are any questions, but I just see comments. Great to see the interaction. Thanks very much, everyone. I appreciate your comments in the chat. It lets me know you're listening and I'm ringing some bells, hopefully. All right. Next one. How can I, as a career coach, find additional resources to help my clients with career advancement? Hmm. You know, I think the only advice I really have here, because career coaching is not so much a matter of reading other periodicals and books and things there are that talk about growth, development, etc. But career coaching is really about helping people think through what it is that they want to do, and once they understand what they want to do, map, great, how do I go from here to there? What are the jobs I need? What are the skills I need? Whatever. It's very personal and one-on-one, and it always starts with performance. You have to do the job you've got really well to get that next opportunity. So anything that people can do to actually excel at the job they have, to put them in a position to get that next job and that next role, moving them towards their overall objectives, is really what I think the focus needs to be on in terms of building your career. The question I always ask myself is, what's the job, or what's the role? What is it I'm trying to achieve? Next question, what has to be true for me to achieve it? And in order to determine what has to be true, you have to do the research. Okay, if I want to be, I'll go back this time. Let's say I wanted to be a chief marketing officer. All right. What are the experiences that people have who are chief marketing officers? What are their backgrounds? What's their education? What does their career trajectory look like? Right? Why do you do all that? Because then you understand what has to be true. And then the next question I ask myself is, how do I make it true for me? Right? So how do I get those jobs, those skills, right? That education, whatever it might be, to be able to move forward and then go execute on it. Because once I understand what I want to do, what has to be true, then it's how do I make it true? Well, that's the game plan. And then you just execute. Next one. How did you get your board positions? Just like everything else in my career, I was super intentional. I decided early, for those who've read the book, but I decided early I wanted to be a CEO, and I worked towards that. And then along the way, in my early 30s, I realized, you know what? There's something called a board of directors. And I knew they were out there, but I didn't really realize what a person who sat on a board did, or how that role was valued, or the power that role had. And when I figured out that, wait a minute, people who sit on boards actually hire and fire the CEOs, well, I want that job. And so literally, it was then doing what I said. All right, I want to be I want to serve on a board of directors. What has to be true? I did the research. Who serves on boards? What are their backgrounds? What are the skill sets boards look for, right? Et cetera. How do they get on boards? And then I put a plan in place for myself to actually go make that happen, and built the skills, got the capabilities I thought were necessary. And then I told people that's what I wanted to do. Because let me tell you something else. Telling people what you want to do is just another way of asking for help. And I believe in asking for help. I believe you tell the universe what you want and what you need in the right way, and the universe will help you. Because honestly, most people actually want to be helpful if asked in the right way. So you use all those resources to come to bear. And it's not challenging these days to actually do the research to understand who boards of directors are, what their backgrounds are, what companies are looking for in terms of skill sets and experiences and backgrounds for the members of their board. And once you understand that, then you can put a plan in place to go get those skills. All right, next question. What are the key things to consider when thinking about making a job change? How do you get re-energized in a job where you've lost motivation? Great question. First, I always say, do not run. Do not run from a job, right? Or a problem or a company. Many people do. They're struggling, they're not happy, they don't like their manager, whatever it is. And so they run from that job and take the very next thing that comes available. And I call that running from a problem or situation. Don't run from something. Always run to something, which means take the time to strategically think about what it is that you want. And then determine first, can I get that in my existing company? And if you can't, then look for it at another company. But don't just hop out of one fire into another. Take the time to actually go find something that you want so that you're running toward opportunity and not just running away from a problem. So, what are things to consider? One, does the next job that you're looking at put you closer to your ultimate goal and objective? Does it help you build skills and experiences that you need to be able to compete better for where you're trying to head in the future? Does it give you the ability to learn, right? And is it an environment in which you want, a culture in which you want to operate, and with people that you want to spend a lot of time with? Those are all the things that I consider to be important. Sorry. Off a plane and throat's dry. So those are things that I consider with regards to looking at something next. Now, what to think about it in terms of leaving the job you've got? The job you're in, once you've gotten to the point where your learning curve is no longer up and to the right, but plateauing, that's a sign it's time to change. If you don't feel inspired and don't feel that you're actually leveraging a lot of your own capability, that's the time that says you're ready for a change. So those are all things. But the key again, don't just run from a problem, run to an opportunity. Next, hold on. Next, in terms of how to get re-energized, to me it comes down to remembering what the purpose is. Reminding yourself, what are you actually doing? Who are you helping? What are you trying to accomplish? Not just you personally, but you, the company, the organization, right? Go back to the purpose. Many times I find when people lose motivation, it's because either they don't understand why they're doing what they're doing, or two, they are not getting the right support and help for doing what they're doing, or they're not seeing the impact. So if those are the reasons it's causing you to lose motivation, then go fix those. Understand what the purpose is. Make sure you get clarity on how you're rolling, how you fit. If you're not getting the right support and encouragement you need, talk about it. That's a very fair conversation to have with your manager, right? And how do you say it? You don't walk in and say, I'm not motivated. I need you to motivate me. No, that doesn't work. What you do is you go in and say, I've been so focused on getting blah, blah, blah done, right? Whatever your role is, that I'm losing the connection with the broader company strategy. Can we talk about how all this fits, right? With where blah, blah is going. So you can talk about it like that, right? Or if you're not getting the support you need, it's fine to share that too. Again, in the right way, which is, you've tasked me to do blah, 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 and I'm working on that. But I am finding that I'm finding that I actually need a bit more support from you or air cover or whatever it might be. And then be specific about what you're talking about. So don't do it in a really strong negative way, right? Do it in a way in which you're asking them for help to help you succeed better. So those are some examples of how you can do that. All right. I had a question, and in case Julia is on, I don't quite understand the question, so maybe you can clarify it for me. The question I got was how to identify what type of leadership I can develop to work on my skills. So if Julia's on, help me with this one, because I'm not sure if you're talking about, when you say what type of leadership you can develop to work on your skills, I don't really see leadership or style tied to, the skill piece. So I'm just confused. But anyway, so if you're on, put it in the chat and just clarify for me. And if not, then I'll save it for the next time and you can clarify it then. In the meantime, I've actually gone through all the questions that I received in advance. Any questions from the chat? If so, I'll let you guys, let me just give you a minute to see if anybody's any questions in the chat. Let me just scroll through and see if I've missed anything. And Sylvia, thanks for all the shout outs. All right, let's see. Yep, and Autumn, I see your comments too. All right. Well, everybody, I think I've addressed all the questions that have come through for today. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Ask Me Anything. Continue to follow me, and we'll post the date and time for the next one, and you can sign up for the YouTube channel and you'll automatically get notified. But we'll see you guys next month. All right. Have a great one. Bye-bye.